Have you ever felt the cold, sharp spike of rejection? It is a physical sensation, a tightening in the throat, a hollow ache in the chest, and a sudden desperate urge to apologize for your own existence. Most of us spend our entire lives trying to avoid this feeling. We become chameleons, shifting our colors, our opinions, and our very values to match the expectations of the people around us. We believe that if we can just be liked by everyone, we will be safe. We build a prison of approval, brick by brick, until we are so well liked that we are completely invisible. This is the ultimate facade, a life lived as a shadow of other people's desires. But the shadow explorer understands a terrifying and liberating truth. Your freedom is found exactly where your fear of rejection lives. True power begins the moment you develop the courage to be disliked. Consider the story of a woman named Clara. Clara was a people-pleaser of the highest order in her office. She was the one who took on extra work without complaining. In her family, she was the peacekeeper who suppressed her own needs to avoid conflict. She prided herself on her kindness. But in the silence of her own mind, she was drowning in resentment. She felt like a lost soul because she no longer knew what she actually believed. Her discipline was entirely external. She was disciplined in meeting the needs of others, but she had no sovereignty over her own soul. She was terrified of the shadow of disapproval, believing that if anyone were unhappy with her, her world would collapse. One day, the collapse happened anyway. Despite all her efforts to be perfect, Clara was passed over for a promotion in favor of someone far more assertive. When she finally tried to stand up for herself, her colleagues didn't offer support. They offered cold indifference. She found herself standing in the abyss of being disliked. For the first time, she was the villain in someone else's story. She waited for her world to end, but the sun still rose. The air was still there, and in that crushing silence, she realized that she was finally dangerously free. This is the stoic realization of the shadow explorer. The opinions of others are externals. They are entirely outside your dichotomy of control. You can be the most delicious peach in the world, and you will still find people who simply do not like peaches. If your peace of mind depends on the approval of others, you have handed the keys to your inner citadel to a crowd that is fickle, distracted, and ultimately indifferent to your soul. To have the courage to be disliked is to reclaim those keys. It is the act of letting go of the impossible burden of managing other people's perceptions. Clara began to practice a new kind of discipline, the discipline of truth. She stopped saying yes when her heart said no. She stopped apologizing for her boundaries. She allowed the shadow of rejection to fall across her path, and she discovered that the shadow didn't swallow her, it defined her. Rejection acted as a filter, clearing away the shallow connections that were based on her compliance and making room for authentic relationships based on her integrity. This process is a form of alchemy. You take the leaden fear of being hated and turn it into the gold of individual freedom. When you are willing to be disliked, you stop being a mask and start being a person. You realize that being disliked by some is the necessary price for being truly loved and truly known by others. In the world of Zen, there is a deep peace in being as you are. When you no longer need to perform, your energy returns to you. You gain a sense of control that is internal and unshakable. Many people fear that being disliked means being mean or selfish. But the opposite is true. The person who has the courage to be disliked is often the most capable of true compassion because they are no longer seeking validation. Their kindness is a choice, not a transaction. They are healed from the addiction to praise. They move through the world with a quiet sovereignty because their value is determined by their own character, not by a social media feed or a workplace rumor mill. If you are feeling the weight of other people's expectations today, if you are exhausted from trying to keep everyone happy, I want you to walk into the shadow. Feel the vulnerability of being misunderstood. Let someone be wrong about you. Let someone be unhappy with your choices. This is your gateway to freedom. The moment you accept that you cannot control how you are perceived is the moment you become the master of your own life. You are not here to be a mirror for the world's expectations. You are here to be a light for your own truth. The shadow of rejection is not a sign of your failure. It is the proof that you have finally chosen to stand for something. It is the proof that you have a self that is worth protecting. Embrace the beautiful brokenness of your reputation. Discover the fierce joy of being yourself, even when you are standing alone. You do not need their permission to exist. You do not need their approval to be whole. The only validation that matters is the one that happens in the silence between you and your soul. Have the courage to be disliked, and in that shadow you will finally find the freedom to fly.